Going on a bikepacking adventure is a really great way to escape the realities of life. And there's nothing more exhilarating than sleeping out under the stars in a bivvy. Now, a bivvy bag is essentially a waterproof sleeping bag cover that keeps you and all your sleeping kit dry.
Now, if the idea of this is slightly disconcerting to you, i.e. you're as soft as I am, then fortunately for us, Josh is an expert and he is going to show us exactly how. Or perhaps I should say, unfortunately for me, because now I'm going to have no excuse whatsoever.
I'm sure you'll be all right. So today we're going to be using bivvy bags with a fully zippable cover. Now we've stopped here in this little valley and I think this spot over here is going to be a perfect place to sleep tonight.
Like here, mate?
This looks good. So all my sleeping gear is stored in the saddle pack. So it's quick and easy to get out. And a little trick that I like to do is wrap everything up together. We're quite lucky in this trip, we're traveling relatively light, so we can really maximize the space in the back here. So this is a sleeping gear. As you can see, it's basically a sleeping bag cover. So this particular one has a zipped top on it, which you can undo. And inside, I've wrapped my sleeping bag and also my sleeping mat. Now, the sleeping pad is really great, it's nice and comfortable. And after a long day in the saddle, it's sometimes nice just to lie on something soft. The sleeping bag is rated to about 2 degrees, which should be all right here in Morocco. However, if you're sleeping somewhere a bit colder, or dare I say, going bikepacking in the winter, you will probably need to have a slightly heavier sleeping bag. Now, one of the downsides of a bivvy bag is it's not quite as breathable as a tent. So it can be a little bit sweaty at times. So just make sure you've kind of got the right amount of clothes on underneath. And you may want to have the vent open if it's particularly warm at night.
You zip it up over your head?
It depends how cold it is and if it's raining.
But potentially, yeah.
Potentially, yeah. So despite the fact it's been really warm here during the day, it can get quite chilly at night as the heat escapes out. So it's worth putting layers on as soon as you stop to try and keep your body warmth in so you don't get chilly before you go to sleep.
Okay.
So you probably need to put your jacket on.
Right. Let me grab my jacket.
Now, as we're only doing a short night's sleep and we're not staying out for multiple days, you're probably pretty much ready to go to sleep now.
What? Mate, seriously?
Yeah, and the clothes you're wearing.
You want to go to sleep in a chamois?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, ideally, we'd have a nice veranda and a nice hammock and we could hang our shorts out and dry them and put our casual clothes on. But let's face it, we're in the middle of the desert. It's going to be getting dark soon and we want to get in our sleeping bags, keep warm, and then when we wake up in the morning, we'll be dressed, ready to go.
That's possibly one of the worst things I've ever heard in my life.
Now, before you select your bivvy location, you need to think about conditions. Now, today, it looks like it's going to be a pretty clear night and not much rain. There's a bit of wind, however, so we need to find somewhere that's sheltered. Now, we've chosen this valley here, and there's a few trees as well, which will block the wind. And you can also use things like, depending on the country, a wall or some rocks, or if you're lucky enough, even a bus shelter.
Wow.
That's luxury, though.
Yeah, sounds great.
You're not getting that tree on your first trip.
No, okay.
We're also on a bit of on the edge of a bit of a dry river, so if it's really going to be raining or if there's a lot of snow up high, we would need to consider the safety of that because that could come crashing down in the night. So that's worth considering. The other thing is it's more of a personal thing. Some people will just sleep anywhere. I like to kind of tuck myself away a little bit from the road that I'm traveling on. So you can just make out the road in the distance here through the trees. But if you're traveling on a car or a motorbike, then actually you probably wouldn't pay much attention to this bit. So we're going to be out of sight and there's less chance of being disturbed in the middle of the night.
Good stuff.
So now we've got our kit out and we've chosen our bivvy location. Now we need to think about the ground we're sleeping on. Now ideally, you'd find a nice velvety grass field to sleep in. However, we're in Morocco and it's quite rocky. So we need to make do with what we've got. So we found a bit of a sandy area, which is going to be a bit nicer to sleep on. However, there's a few things we need to think about. So there's a few rocks around here, which might be uncomfortable.
That would be uncomfortable, Josh.
Exactly. So you don't want to be sleeping on that.
No, and that one too.
We'll get those out of the way. And also there's a few little sticks and thorns and they could either go through your bivvy bag and make a hole in it, and then if it does rain, you'll get wet. Or even worse, they could punch your air mat and then you'll find yourself sleeping on hard ground in the morning.
Right.
So we need to move the sticks out of the way.
Right, move sticks.
Just check for anything, and also just check there's no ants nests or anything like that, because that might be a bit itchy in the morning.
Yeah.
Now, safety is another aspect to consider when you're camping out in the wild. Now, you've already said you're a little bit nervous, but the fact of the matter is, if you feel unsafe somewhere, just don't sleep there. Your natural instinct is pretty accurate sometimes, and if you feel kind of threatened when you go to bed, you won't sleep very well.
Yeah.
So it kind of defeats the object of it.
Okay.
So there's a few things we've touched on already. So that's kind of keeping out of sight of the road. Personally, I find that if I know that I can't be seen easily, I feel more secure. And also when I set up my bivvy, I use a little head torch rather than a big bike light. It's just a little bit more subtle, and it stops people sort of seeing where you are if they're passing. It's also pretty attractive.
Yeah, that's the real deal right there. Hang on a minute. Just got to turn myself on.
Do you want a hand?
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
We'll put the red light on to keep your night vision there.
Got my red light on.
The other thing is the safety of your bike. Now, at the moment, your bike is laying up on a tree there, and it's kind of quite obvious, really.
Yeah, okay.
So I like to just lie it down, sort of out of sight, maybe behind the trees, and fairly close by, so if it does move in the night, you can kind of hear it.
Right. It's a good excuse to actually sleep right next to your bike, isn't it?
Exactly. You don't really get that option very often.
No, I'm not allowed to do that anymore. Right, okay. Brilliant, excellent.
So there we go. So I guess you're pretty much almost ready, I think.
So, blow up my mattress.
Oh, well, yeah, you could do that, I suppose. Now, a top tip for extra comfort when you're bivvying is once you're in your bag, you can put your shoes under your head outside the bivvy bag. It's a bit of a pillow.
Well, that does sound comfortable, Josh. Well, that mat's comfy.
I did tell you, Si, this is a luxury bivvy trip.
Right then, so any last words of wisdom, Josh, before I turn in for the night, mate?
Yeah, good night, sweet dreams.
Okay, all right. Well, here we go. Where's the air vent, mate? Comfy, anyway. Right. Well, thanks, Josh, very much, mate, for these tips. I reckon I could get used to this, actually. So, well, anyway, I better give it a go later on. Do make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you've enjoyed watching it. And if you want to see any more of our bikepacking videos, then why not click just or down there. Josh, can you do the pointing, mate? Josh? Josh?